We're going to start off the remainder of our morning getting into Adept 2018. So let me introduce to you Todd Cummings, Vice President of Research and Development, and Chris Fabry, Director of Solutions Engineering and Customer Advocacy. Guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you.
Thanks.
So, as Scott mentioned, this is Todd. I think a lot of you guys have met Todd. I've known him for a long time, been a good friend, not only the head of R&D, but also many hats. You actually fulfill quite a few different roles there. My name is Chris Fabry. I am your customer advocate, as Scott mentioned. My goal is really to be the bullhorn for your voice. So in order for that to really be effective, I need to hear from you. So any of these ideas, concepts, please let us know. So,
Thank you.
Kick in.
Yeah. So I'm going to echo what others have said prior to Chris and I taking the stage. Super thrilled that you're here. Thank you for carving this time out to come and share with us, to come and network with us. I sat there this morning. It's tough to follow Martha, Scott, Steve, Jessica, just an early morning lineup of just really cool, impactful stuff. And so Chris and I have the honor of sharing with you what the team has been working on since Adept Experience last year, roughly. And it's been an amazing and very interesting journey. And 2018, you're going to have the next hour or so, or 50 minutes, is dedicated to 2018. There's a section that Chris and I are going to be doing. After that, Joe and Chris will be focused on specific aspects of 2018. I can tell you the time that we have allotted isn't going to get it done. So please tackle me, Chris, Joe, Steve, Juan, Paul, Bill, Gene, the development and product team. Ask questions. We really want to hear from you. So 2018 is the second step in a new trajectory, a sort of a new evolution of Adept. Much of Adept, it's the Adept that you know and love, and yet it's Adept delivered up in new and interesting and powerful and high-performing ways. And just as we released 2018, tomorrow afternoon we're going to be talking about what's coming in 2019. That will then, of course, be the third step along this journey. So we're excited to share this with you today. The big idea around Adept 2018, a couple of big ideas, really. We want to continue to provide easy access to commonly used functions. And I couldn't have been more thrilled when Jessica mentioned that their users appreciate the home screen of the new browser client. That was from our standpoint, risky. It was a calculated effort to try to present something really simple, to make it easy for users who perhaps aren't technical, aren't CAD users, but need access to your company's critical information. It was our effort at trying to redefine and lower the barrier to entry, just simply make it easier. And we're going to continue in that vein, and we're going to continue in that vein as we continue to execute on this strategy that 2018 is a big part of. We believe, and we're working with this hypothesis, that Adept has more use in your organizations today. And I believe it's our job to try to make it easier for you folks to use, adopt, adapt, maintain, and deploy Adept. And so really our efforts in development, in design, in ideation, in our discussions with you, we have a constant filter on how to make all these powerful capabilities that we've built over the years easier for you to leverage and easier for the people inside your organization to use. 2018 touched everything. Great new stuff in the desktop client. There's a new web client we're going to talk about. And some of the rumors may or may not be confirmed. Big drum roll. You'll have to wait a couple of slides to see if that's true. Task panes and CAD integrations. Exciting new trajectory there. Underlying platform enhancements, aside from the things that the user sees, right? Aside from the picks and clicks and all the cool new capabilities in this client or that client, there's underlying platform enhancements that are absolutely critical. They're critical to our future and to your future. And those are kind of the unsung heroes and the things that I like to geek out about. I promise to keep it high level, and if you want more detail, we'll be glad to do that. Performance enhancements, scalability enhancements, and new ways of getting data out of those, mine data out of documents and into the Adept system for you. Now, my dear friend and colleague, Chris, is going to take the baton, and he's going to point out some specifics for you from this point forward. And then I'll pick up the baton from him in a few minutes. Go ahead, Chris.
All right, thanks. We're going to start off first with the desktop. So first off, we're going to start off with creating folders. We've added the ability to create folders within your favorites and saved searches, so you can start to organize these things. We noticed people creating them very, very rapidly to share with other groups, and so they're ending up with these really long lists. And you can just drag and drop any of your saved searches or favorites into those folders. And yes, you can go and create subfolders. So you can create a structure of these. It's not an actual folder structure. It's just another way of displaying those items. In addition to that, we've also added in the ability to rearrange your columns. This was given out in the web client.
You can clap.
Yes.
It's good.
Yep. Yep. As soon as we put that in the web client, everybody right away, wow, can we do that in the desktop? Also, another big item that you folks asked for last year was the ability to configure some of the emails that are going out, whether it's a review, a workflow email, or an assigned to email, the subject lines. So here, not only can you configure them, but you can also use different fields. So a subject may include the project name, who it's being assigned to, or different fields of data. We'll actually see an email pop up a little bit later on. And actually, I'm going to do it right here. I'm going to check it in. And you can see it added the project name for your review, and it told me what step it was on in the workflow itself.
Before you continue on,
yes.
Chris mentioned that this was something that came out of feedback from last year. Actually, after experience last year, Joe and Jean and probably some others called about a dozen of the attendees and talked through things that were really important to them. It turned out that the ability to configure email headers and edit the body and put data into the subject line was one of the things that came up most. We honestly we wouldn't have guessed that if you had given us the answer ahead of time. So the capability that you just saw is the inaugural Adept experience feature, and it's in the software today because you all said it was important. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Yep. The next one we jumped into a little early there was transmittals. How many among you are creating or using transmittals? Nice. All right, so one of the big items that was asked about was the contacts, trying to create contacts and add them. If you only have 5 companies that you work with, not a big deal, but if you have hundreds, it can be a very big deal. So what you're looking at here was an export. There we go. So this is just an example of the export. There's also now built in to the managed contacts, or managed companies rather, an import ability. So I use the export just to get the right framework, and now I can use any kind of Excel tools to bring in that or import from an Access database, and then I can go and re-import that information. Kind of like the data importer, works very similarly. You can go and pick which sheets, rows, and then set up your mapping. So the idea was to be able to very easily get a lot of contacts into Adept all at once. All right. Next up on the list, clearing red lines rights. We've added in a layer so that you can only allow certain users to clear red lines. Another big wish list item, because anybody can go in there. Yep, by all means, by all means. So that's been added as a security level. Deleting empty libraries. Many, many empty libraries are created mainly because people set them up thinking they may use them at some time. And so they end up creating a train of them, creating a new project. They copy the old folder structure, but they might only use 1 or 2 folders. All those empty folders are using up space and data. So we added in the tool to be able to go and clear those out. It doesn't actually delete the files. It deletes them out of Adept itself. And the last one was being able to make specific edits inside of Designer. The description of your fields, the file guide views, and your data cards. You can now edit in Designer without shutting Adept down and without kicking out users. Another big wish list item.
Yeah. And I'll say also, in addition to that, well over 100 polishes, fixes, tweaks, different ways of putting data in drop-down lists to make it faster, more scalable. Please, please, please read the release notes. We promise to be diligent about all the good news and all the good stuff that's in there, but there are just many, many, many things that, that we're not going to take the time to talk about today in the desktop client.
All right, the next list of items is to the web client. So some of the new features in 2018, first off, favorites. You're going to be able to create and edit and delete those favorites. Same thing with the saved searches in the web client. Send to command has been added, email notification before sending, and also the ability to create relationships. So if we come over here, see, I'll eventually learn.
There we go.
In here, in my favorites, I hover over this icon and I can see I can delete it or I can rename it. A little information symbol or an I lets me know who created that. If I can't edit it, you can see there's a couple there. Job CM20, I don't have any editing rights. It wasn't shared with me for editing. It was just shared with me to be able to use, so I couldn't edit it. Also the ability to go in and rename those and edit those. In addition, we talked a moment ago about send to. So when you do a send to, it prompts you, it walks you through each of the steps. You can edit the file name information, exclude certain libraries. This is wonderful. Being able to just go and pick users out of a list instead of having to find them in Adept. Being able to edit that subject as well as the body.
You can also type in an ad hoc email address in that field if you want.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. And as you can see, I take too long to type. So let's see here. The last one on this is the relationships. So in Adept with relationships, if I select this file right here, I can see there are no relationships down in the dashboard. And then we have a new icon up in the, it's not in the search tab, the home tab. Thank you. The relationships, so here I'm adding in additional files and the relationship window is popped up on the right. So I can add and remove just like in the desktop. So these relationships can be created by anybody that has that right.
Before you move on to the next slide after this,
Yep.
just pause here for a second. There's your children.
Okay.
All are found and whole. So the capabilities you just saw have been added to our existing web clients, so Explorer and Reviewer. This last, the ability to create and edit relationships is part of now Adept Reviewer. One of the things that we wanted to point out is you'll notice that the command bar or the command area is now tabulated, similar to the way the desktop is tabulated. It was great when we had the single pane command bar was great when we had a few commands. Now that we've added a lot more capabilities to the web client, we needed to provide a new user experience for accessing those commands. So those of you who are heavy Adept 2017 web client users, Jessica and others, please let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback, and we're certainly open to that. We worked hard to put in enabling of commands. So based on the record that you're selecting, commands will enable or disable. You can see that up here. Search, data card, and viewer enabled. Check-in is not enabled in this case. So that's a permissions issue. And those enables come on and off as they do in the desktop client. That enable logic was intensely debated and a hard-won feature early on in the desktop client. So we've carried that forward into the web client as well. Go ahead, Chris.
All right. The next one, I made a mistake in here. There's a new web client, and it's called Adept Creator. One of our other votes below Adept Contributor, I accidentally missed replacing. That was one of the first votes here. We've added in new features into this new web client. So we've got Explore, Reviewer, and now Creator. You're going to be able to go and work with work areas. You'll be able to create new documents. Jessica, during your session, I wanted to jump up and go, we added it. It's going to be in there, 2018. Check in, check out from the web client, as well as release and acquire checkout, rename, and delete. So if we take a quick peek here. So first off, the work areas. You can see them added on the left. So I'm logged in as Adam right now. These are his work areas that were created when he was in the desktop. But I can go in and still go to that work area in the folder, edit and delete them. In this case, I'm going to go in and see one file, and I'm going to create a brand new document. I'm going to do it checked out from a library. So we'll even get to see a little bit of a workflow process, as well as selection of, if I pick a document, I can create an unlinked record. I can pick my template, file name, and then this will create a brand new file in my work area, checked out to me. And I type way too slowly. There we go. So Adept's going to, and if you're watching here, it's going to refresh and go and re-up all the data off of that document. So it's extracting any properties, thumbnails, everything that it typically would extract. From here, I can go and also release my checkout. By doing so, does everybody know what happens to your file in your work area? Does it become a duplicate? Same thing here. So Adept, the web clients are able to recognize that status because of the knowledge of the work area now. In this case, I acquired it back, and I'm just going to check it in, and you can see the check-in process. It's not asking me where to go. I can, in this case, I did a quick rename, and then I'll check that file in. Yeah, I took too long typing, didn't I?
Common theme today.
All right. Very good, status of in. All right, let's get on to the next piece here, and that is...
Actually, go back. Well, this is fine. Either one's fine.
Okay. Thanks.
So just to interject here, what you're seeing is, wow, check-in, check-out from a browser client. So some major wizardry going on here. In order to enable, the team has worked for months in order to enable this in a browser client. And a couple of things that you'll be interested to know. Browsers intrinsically aren't allowed to know much about what's going on your local hard drive, on a user's local hard drive, right? It's a kind of a hermetically sealed environment. Really the only place that the browser has even the slightest bit of knowledge about is a download location. So in conjunction with what you're seeing on screen here, there's a small application that is resident on your local workstation. It's the same type of thing that gets downloaded, installed if you want to use the Windows Dropbox client or the iCloud or the Google Drive client. It's the same kind of enabling technology. However, in Adept's case, that enabling technology allows us to see what's on the user's drive, to feed that back to the server. It allows us to extract data. So we have essentially, in a very small package, recreated local work in process, local work area capabilities and extraction capabilities. So the extraction plugins have all been refactored for, not all of them, but a significant number of them have been refactored and are usable in the in 2018 Adept Creator, which is really exciting. So What you're seeing on screen here is, again, the major next step in how we continue to plan to add more value to the platform moving forward. And by doing this, again, key lens through which we're looking is making these powerful capabilities accessible to more and more people in your organization. And we've got some really interesting examples. You heard from Jessica this morning. You'll hear from Randy tomorrow. Ways that folks are adopting the web-based client more and more. And that's something that we find very interesting. And certainly a big focus and a big part of what 2018 is about. Now, there's a big quiz on this in about 10 minutes. No. So this eye chart is really illustrates our Adept web clients. At the left, Adept Explorer, very functional, predominantly, of course, used for find, view, print, ability to send notifications to users. Adept Reviewer allows users to edit data, participate in workflows, business processes, and now Creator allows users to create and edit existing content as well. So that's the 2018 web client family. And again, as Chris mentioned, and as he demonstrated, you can see that new capabilities have been added to our existing web clients, and a whole host of new capabilities have been added for Adept Creator, and we're really, really excited about it. We're excited to provide you a tool that we hope will have a really positive impact in your organization. I should mention while we're here, the 2018 clients, Adept Creator fits itself right in between Reviewer and Desktop in terms of its suggested retail. And currently, some sort of joke was made earlier, maybe that was Martha, about the release date. Expected release date is Q1. That's what we're shooting for. So we hope to have this available and accessible to you in Q1. The earlier, the better from our perspective. And just like the old commercial, we'll sell no wine before it's time. We won't post before we have a good quality product for you to access.
And a big thank you to development that was able to get us this to be able to show you even. Last year, we were a lot closer to our release date when we were showing you what's new in 2017, and a little further this time. So yeah. Thank you guys very, very much.
Oop. I just want to review. You did, yeah, come on. I see what you did there. Got to keep them guessing, right? So the platform enhancements that I alluded to earlier, again, not to go too deep or to geek out, platform-wide performance enhancements. Quickly, we took some time in this release cycle. Not that we don't every release cycle, but we really invested some man weeks and man months, person months in testing our performance and checking our performance as we went. And the team came across some really interesting new techniques for indexing information. Those changes are going to find their way into 2018, and we think you're going to be pleased and pleasantly surprised at some performance enhancements in areas that weren't there before. So not only will you be pleased, your users will be pleased as well. Our new business logic engine, our web server, is now more than it's 2 times smarter than it was this time last year. And we're just starting to have clients really leverage that technology. Clearly, we're leveraging it. The browser clients, the web client interfaces that you see, and some of the capabilities in the desktop client are using those web APIs. Now, it's a common thing when you hear me say web APIs, the immediate thing we think of is it has to work in the browser. It's really all about the web. Actually, it's an odd misnomer. A web API is really more descriptive about the type of architecture and the way that APIs are accessed than it is about having to be on the web. They power the web, but they're also going to power your enterprise applications moving forward. and Adept is starting to consume more and more of that new architecture that we set in motion last year. And by doing that, we open just an infinite number of possibilities. We're using them to build what we provide your users. You can use them to build business system integrations. We'll help you, certainly help you that with Adept Integrator, which you'll hear more about. You can use it to, I've had a couple of interesting conversations with folks at the conference already about different types of server-side applications that can consume those new web APIs to help you be more efficient, to help your users be more efficient. So we're pretty excited about the behind-the-scenes stuff as well, and that's all I'll geek out about it now. So Chris and I are gonna wrap up our section. We're not done with Adept 2018. We've given you a taste, an overview of some of the power of 2018 here. A major, major focus in 2018 was all about breathing exciting new life into the task panes, our CAD integrations as well. So Joe and Chris are going to share those things with you. However, before I invite Joe up and relinquish the clicker here, we'd like to entertain any questions, if you have any, for Chris and I about what you've seen or any other questions regarding 2018. Yeah,
Don.
Is that Don? Yeah. Sorry, the lights are bright up here.
On the C drive?
On the user's C drive? Not in 2018, no. It'll be, the web client will function in a very similar way that it does, that the desktop does today in that regard. So your IT administrator would, but you as an Adept administrator probably wouldn't unless you have, the IT keys to the kingdom.
So the work areas really could be anywhere, just like they are on the desktop. Right. So I was looking at 5 there. I think one of them was like pointing at a Dropbox, one was a shared work area, one was a local work area, and one was a network area. So you can still have a mixture. Good question. Ryan?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Good question.
Mm-hmm. So we don't have an exchange program in place. However, you would be able to designate those users to have those existing users to have a creator license. It's an interesting question. We haven't put a program in place to do something like that. But so the way, you may or may not know this, but for those of you who don't, in the user profile, inside the user group library administration window, the way you designate a user to be a reviewer user, for example. So everybody gets potential Explorer access if you have web client licenses. The way you designate a reviewer license is by enabling a checkbox in the user profile. And then the way you'll enable a creator license is by enabling the creator checkbox in that user profile. So I want you to remember that. It's a great question. I want you to remember the question. And I believe Randy's going to touch on Dow's recent upgrade to 2017 and how his users in one of the early adopter users in a location of theirs moved from predominantly desktop use to web client use moving forward. Thank you for the question. Yes.
Hi, Todd.
Hi.
We, not too long ago, as a company, had custom programming generated for signing in vendor files, where it did a comparison for file names and auto archiving.
Yes.
As a sign-in, sign-out function on the web client, would that be something that would be integrated into that or not?
Not
so maybe a standalone issue at this point.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and this is an important topic. So we won't get into the entire topic here, but the simple short answer to your question is customization that was created for the desktop client will only work in the desktop client. So today, when it comes to web client customization, the predominant way to utilize the infrastructure that we've put in place to build the web client is by programming directly to the web client APIs. We have not yet provided you a way to, or you or ourselves, well, we can do it, obviously we have the source code, right? But we haven't provided you a way to put a custom app inside of an out-of-the-box creator function, for example. We will, we haven't done that yet. It's something that in my discussions last night I realized we're gonna have to accelerate, we're really gonna have to accelerate that feature. So Juan and team, you guys, you said this could be done. I'm going on that now. Yeah, get back to work. So for today, they'll go through the desktop client. Any other? Scott, did you have something? Is it time or? Okay.
Please.
The web architecture.
Yes. Great question. So we surmise it will. Whether we're going to qualify it and actively support it in that configuration remains yet to be seen. That's going to be a function of time and business pressure to release by a date. Yes.
So I'll bring it up. The web client with check-in, check-out capabilities, clearly a great solution for people, office users, and nearly any department who need to actually create and modify documents. Is it also a good solution for CAD users, and if so, which ones?
Yeah.
Which types of CAD users?
It can be, yeah, good question. So anybody that's using single level files, single DWGs, they absolutely can check out that drawing, work inside a CAD, check it back in. Where the relationships aren't being maintained like they do in the task pane, with the web client, we will be getting there. We're going to take first swing is going to be through SolidWorks. So for those that are using SolidWorks, there'll be a task pane, and Joe and I are going to talk about this in just a couple of minutes. But if somebody is using single drawings, even if it's two drawings that reference each other, if you check them both out, you'll be able to work in CAD and work on those files. But mostly it's going to be geared towards Office, check in, check out of single documents. That is the focus of it so far.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, just before, again, final, I actually have two questions for you folks, and this would help me tremendously. Would you please raise your hand if you currently have users using either Explorer or Reviewer in your organization? Okay, good, thank you. Would you please raise your hand if you believe there is interest for Creator in your organization? Okay, great. So thank you. I'm going to excuse myself and ask Joe to take my spot. And Chris, I think you'll remain.
Yep.
Thank you. We appreciate your interest.
Thank you.